Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We are back doing our DigiCut fundamentals on the software. Sorry about that. And apologize for my timer not working. But either way, let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to talk about kind of the fundamentals of setting up the software, navigating the artboard, choosing a vehicle, kind of understanding our naming structure and how we structure our vehicle names, which admittedly can be a bit confusing sometimes. I'm going to show you some VIN matching on a couple of cars and kind of explain that. And then we're going to finish up with going over the editing tools. We got some feedback from you guys that said that the editing tools are the one thing that you guys really want to see and learn more about. We totally agree. That is something that we are constantly in development on in the background. We've got some new features coming out. Right now we're slated for June. On some of those, we're trying to get those out earlier if possible, but we continue to go at it and do everything we can to bring you guys what you want. Let's go ahead and jump in and get started. With navigating the artboard, some of you come from our old school dealerships that are used to seeing the view in a simple cut list or our simple view. We have gotten rid of that in 2.5, and this is now the only artboard that we have. We opted for that because it was creating some bugs and some slow stuff that just made the software better if we did it just in this simple view or in this nesting view. So let's talk about the artboard itself. I got a call the other day from a guy, one of our users, that was having problems, thought that it was going to cut off part of the bumper. And for some reason, I am not connected. So would love for this to just go smoothly one time, but alas, we're going to try this one more time. I'm going to open this up again and we're going to reset. He was actually working on a Ford F350, which is a Super Duty. He was working on this, and when he clicked on the bumper, he had his window and his monitor was like this, and he was afraid that it would not cut it out. So, because it was cutting off half the bumper. So one thing, the one way to do that, if your screen is smaller, and I realize that a lot of you guys are working on smaller laptops, you don't have giant 32-inch monitors like I do here, but in that case, to make the artboard, to see the entire artboard, you want to do, if you're working on a Windows machine, you want to do Control and minus, or in a Mac, it's Command and minus. So you can zoom in and out of the artboard, make it small, and there it is. Now, even if he had it up like this and was cut, it would still cut the entire thing. He just couldn't see it. So that is kind of a prime example of the kind of the questions that we get on the daily here. So I'll go ahead and make this bigger. And again, on Windows machines, it's Control minus, Control plus, Control 0 will bring it back to the basic zoom level, but you can go negative on the zoom level if you want. You can make it super small, you can make it super big. So That's the first thing about the artboard. Now, when you place a template, there's two ways. Two ways you can do this. You can click and drag the template out, which is fine until you drag it all the way over here, and then when you go cut, you're going to have all this wasted space. So you always want to make sure that you're up against the ruler, because that area right here is the front of your film. This 0 represents the control panel side of your cutter. So everything needs to start down here. Now you see it turned red because I was below or off of that artboard. So you just want to keep that. Now that's if you're dragging it out. So again, you drag it out, you want to place it like that. You can absolutely just keep dragging stuff left and right if you want. I mean, it's really that simple. The main way that we do it here in the shop is we just double click, because it automatically places it at the lower left. So lower left up against the artboard, it's going to automatically place it. Now any other template that I put in there, it's going to use the kind of a enhanced smarter feature. So if I wanted the door panel in there as well, and I wanted to do the front fender, and let's just add the grill in there, it added it to where it thinks it had space. So that is kind of the basics on the first part of the artboard. So let's clear that out. Let's get rid of that for now. We'll talk about that in a later version. But up here on the top, you'll see a red line. Okay, so anything above that red, anything right up to that red line, that is going to be the far left side of your cutter if you're standing in front of it. So the far left side. Now in the settings, I've got my artboard here set at 60 inches. Okay, so I'm using a 60-inch roll, and I'm just going to take advantage of that. Now, what I really want to do is that if my cutter on my GraphTech, it tells me the I believe it's the Y dimension, maybe the X dimension. Either way, the width of it will tell me that it's exactly 58.5. So I'm going to enter 58.5 into that if I'm working on a 60-inch roll. The other way to do that is if you just want to leave this at 60, or if you're commonly cutting on a 40-inch, you can do it this way and just enter, you've got a 40-inch width material. But up in the settings, if you go to plotter, I'm sorry, it's in nesting. So your default film width, if you don't ever use a 60-inch roll, highly suggest that you put it in at 40. If you're only doing 40s, 48s, whatever the case is, we commonly work on 60s around here, so that's why mine is set that way. You can set that to whatever you want. If you know that your pinch roller, for example, again, the GraphTech is about 1.5 inches. So it's 3/4 of an inch per pinch roller. So with 2 pinch rollers, one on the left, one on the right, it's going to be about 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and set that length here at 1.5 inches. And what you'll see is that it's given me kind of a buffer zone. It's moved that red line down for me, right? So now this piece, at least on a 40-inch material, is not going to fit, because it figures I've got a 40-inch material minus 1.5 inches, and that puts that 0.3 inches. If I'm doing the math, it's almost 0.3 inches over that artboard. easy enough. Again, that's in nesting and your pinch roller width. If you want to do it that way, you can certainly do it that way. Some guys find it easier to understand. That one's just not going to fit on a 40. So the grill wheel and the headlamp wheel, and I'm double clicking on those as I'm doing that. So that's the artboard. That's your placing a template, pinch roller width, so on and so forth. Let's see. Let's check the. See if anybody's got. If you got any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. We do have some people on here that are monitoring that, and I'll kind of come back to those at the end to see if there's any questions that we need to answer. But for now, I'm going to go back and reset up the way I had it. I'm going to take that to 0 and just use a 60-inch default width. So because I like to put in the exact width of what I've got on the cutter. So 58.5 inches, it's going to automatically fill that. All right. Let's talk about choosing a vehicle. This one is one that we get questions on. It can be a little bit frustrating because of our naming convention. Okay, so first things first, we try to name these vehicles what the manufacturer. So in this case, the Ford Super Duty, we're trying to name them exactly what they call it. We know that everybody thinks it's an F-250 or F-350. That doesn't necessarily mean that it is only that. Ford calls them a Super Duty, so we name them a Super Duty. But we also say it's an F-250 slash F-350 Lariat slash King Ranch slash Platinum slash Limited 26-23 crew pickup. Okay, so let's go through this one at a time. So it's a Super Duty because that's what Ford calls it. This applies to the F-250 or the F-350. This is a Lariat, could be a Lariat, could be a King Ranch, could be a Platinum or a Limited. All of those, we have done research and tried to make sure that we put all of the pieces together. So all of those fit in there. So if you've got a Super Duty or an F-250 Limited that came in, well, you wouldn't want this one. You wouldn't want the XL or the XLT. You would want this one because the slash means that one is the Limited. But you know what? The Platinum, the King Ranch, and the Lariat is all the same, right? The next is the year. So what this tells us is the year range. Now, yes, it does appear backwards because we're going from newest to oldest. So that goes from 26 to 23. That vehicle goes all the way back to 26 to 23. And then on a crew pickup, that again is what Ford calls it. Ford calls it a crew pickup. That is the 4-door crew pickup. So that's how that's named. Now, let's go do another one. 26. There was another one that we just did, and that's this one. That's the Mazda CX-50. Trust me, that was a challenge to determine what all the pieces went on all of that car. So in this particular case, this is a CX-50. It's the Select. It's also the Preferred. It's also the Premium Plus, the Turbo Meridian Edition, the Turbo Premium, and the Turbo Premium Plus. The year range is 26 back to 23, and that is a 4-door SUV. So, pretty simple when you actually read it. You just gotta kind of read it and go, okay, so it could be a Premium Plus, but it also could be a Turbo Premium. And I realize that you guys don't always have access to the Monroney stickers or the original new car sticker that comes with the car, like we do. But that is what they're called. If it just is on the badge, you need to make sure and look at the templates and make sure that they look right before you cut it. Would make sure that I would pull up that front bumper, and if your view is cut off or too small, I would make sure that you get the entire view and then take a look at the picture. We are in the process of adding pictures to these vehicles. It is something that is a work in progress. Over here in the notes, you'll see this indicates that there are notes on that vehicle. On the appearance package over here, that is probably one that we need to fix. But in the spirit of transparency, this is an update that we need to fix. The template notes, the door cups are different in size from front to back. The front door cups are smaller. So that's an example of a note. And if I zoomed in, I can hold Z and draw a box, and that will get me there. Or again, I can do the control plus and minus on the artboard. So you can see that the front door cups are a different size than the rear. Let's do a quick VIN match. Let's talk about VIN matching. Let's see, how long have we been going here? Good, 8 minutes deep on this. Promise, guys, I'll try to get through some of this as fast as possible. I do tend to ramble and get a little distracted here and there. But let's talk about our VIN matching. We are currently the only ones that I know of that does templates matched directly to the VIN. So I've got a VIN here. Let's see what car this is, and I'm gonna put that VIN, the full 17-digit VIN, in there, and then I'm gonna choose. Let's choose tint. There we go. Sometimes it takes it a second to figure out which one it is. So that tells me that VIN is a 2024 Toyota Tacoma, again, 26 to 24 crew cab pickup. So that is the crew. Again, we have some notes in that one. Bottom shape of rear roll-ups do not match the outside of the body because the inside seal is flat. The windshield does not include optional dash cam accessory cutout. So you can get out of that, but again, that tells you that there's notes there. On the tint side, it showed that. Now, I would love to tell you that we get every one of these absolutely right and it's perfect and everything is sunshine and rainbows. However, looking at 17-digit VIN patterns, sometimes our eyes tend to go crossed and things get matched. So if this pulls up a Volkswagen and you're staring at a Toyota in your bay, you should probably give us a call. You can give us a call directly at 1-800-452-7311. Option number 2 for templates. You could even talk to our buddy Miguel or Salvador at option number 3 and say, hey, they've got a Toyota Tacoma VIN that's showing as a Volkswagen. Again, would love to say that everything is perfect, but Occasionally that stuff does happen. They do actually change VINs, and sometimes it's not actually our fault, but that is how the VIN matching works on that part. Now, if I chose PPF, it knows it's a Toyota, but it does not know the model. Let me try to explain this. This is because Toyota does what we call just-in-time manufacturing, where they will assign a VIN pattern. So the VIN pattern is this first 10 digits of the VIN, and they will assign a VIN pattern to a bunch of trucks all at one time. And when they do, it comes down the line, comes down the assembly line, and if they only have parts for a TRD Sport, or if they have parts for a TRD Pro, they will make it a TRD Pro, but it could be either one of those. So what we've done is on our side of it, we call it a multi-match. And so what we've done is said, okay, we're going to get you close. We know it's a PPF. We know it's a 2024 Toyota Tacoma, but it could be a Trail Hunter, it could be a Pro, it could be a Sport Limited, or it could be an off-road TRD off-road iForce Max. Okay? Again, if none of that looks right, or if you've got questions about it, we're always here and ready to help you. Unless it's a Saturday. But either way, you can give us a call. You can email us. You can ask us which one you have, or help you figure out which one you have. We are in the process of adding pictures to these, so that should help on a lot of these. But in that case, there's your TRD Pro. This one was actually an off-road based on my research. So that is VIN matching. That is kind of how that works and how to understand the naming convention of the vehicle. Now, if none of these look right, you can always say show all. And if you show all, then you can just go ahead and say, well, okay, well, we know it's a Toyota, and it just narrowed it down to every Toyota that we have in the library for that year. So even if it's a GR Supra or a 4Runner, just because you put in the VIN doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use that information. Excuse me. Okay. So if you don't want to use that, you can always go through the vehicle picker just like normal, and you know that your customer says it's a 2026 and it's an Acura and this is an ADX, so it's going to automatically pull that up. So if you know what it is and you're confident, again, it's always good practice to make sure that you look at the shape of the bumper and identify the pieces, especially the big pieces that cost a lot of money, before you actually cut it. So let's get to some of the template editing parts. The template editing is by far what a lot of users do, because we do things a little bit differently than all of the other softwares that are currently out there. So let's just go back to our favorite Acura ADX, simply because the windows are right there and I don't have to click through a whole bunch of stuff. So on window editing, so I double click that. I'm going to take it out into space, just so I give myself some room on the canvas to move. And then I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. I'll go ahead and zoom in so that I can see. Here's the thing with the editing. If you select it and then click on resize, it's going to turn green. The outline turns green. We need to place a node. We need to place two nodes to tell it what side you want to edit. Most people, because of other softwares that are out there, and sign making softwares and kind of graphics related stuff want to put that node right there and right there on the corner, right? So you go, okay, well, I want to extend this out half inch or whatever that number is. And I'll do some crazy examples just so you can make sure and see. So if I select right there and right there, right on those corners, and then choose a half an inch, you could choose an inch if you want and manually type that in. We've just given you the presets. It doesn't force you to do it that way. It's just, I mean, most people want to make no more than really half inch at a time adjustments, and then push plus. And I'm pushing plus and nothing's happening, right? So, well, that usually results to a call to us to say, hey, I can't figure out how to get this editing, and they talk to Miguel or they talk to me or any one of the design guys out there, and they can't figure out how to get it to edit. Well, it's because of where you placed these two nodes. So let's start over. Let's highlight that template, and what I want to do is I want to add, I'm going to add 2 inches to the front of this. I actually trained a guy years ago that he would add film to the left and to the right of every window, regardless of whether it needed it or not, because he liked, and he told me this, he liked to hear the crunch. Blows my mind. Still to this day, and it's still a story that I use 13, 14 years later. So either way, highlight the template, click on Resize, place your first node right there, and you see how I've gone around the corner? And same here. Okay, there's a good example. I missed the placement. There's that. And I guess I'm just blind because I can't see why I'm missing that, but there we go. Okay. Whew. What I've done here is I've selected this whole corner, including the actual corners themselves. It's because we're trying to do this. The original thought was that we make this easier to do, and we do some of your thinking for you instead of you having to click and drag without any kind of map or anything to do with that. So what we wanted to do was do the thinking for you. So we are selecting that corner. I've already got my half inch selected. I said I'm going to do 1 inch, so I'm going to put in 1 inch to that, and then every time I click the plus, it adds an inch. Same thing with the minus, right? So again, let's go back to the right. You got to go around the corner. You have to select the corner for it to know what you wanted to do. If it's too big, too small, you want to do a half an inch. Let's see. Same thing on the bottom. Now, there's other ways to put your nodes down. There's faster ways. Instead of you saw me kind of struggling with the click there and trying to make sure that it gets it selected. But what you did see is that here's the other thing is if I started there and went left to right. So basically that's going clockwise. If it goes clockwise, it's going to select the other side. And you see it selected this side. And I said, well, I don't want that side to move. I want this side to move. That's where you would push the letter R on your keyboard. And all that does is it stands for reverse the selection. So that is how that works. R reverses the selection. There's another way to put down your anchor points, and that is hold shift and draw a box. Now what that's going to do is that's going to automatically put an anchor point exactly where it intersects, right here and right there. Just like that. Hold shift while drawing a box with your mouse or with your trackpad or with your stylus or whatever you guys are using. I'm using a mouse and a keyboard. So that is what's going to do that, and then I'm just going to go ahead and add an inch to the bottom of that because I'm going to move that up and shave the top edge. That's actually a valid reason that you would want to do that. So that is on tint editing. For PPF, actually, you know what? Let's go back. Let's go back to that one more time. I want to show you our separate tool because this is actually one that people use a lot. We get a lot of feedback on windshields. We're working on the fact that we're going to get some good feedback from you guys on windshields one of these days, because we certainly work hard at making those things. But if you wanted to make a custom visor, say that you don't like this visor, you don't like this visor, I want to make my own. You can absolutely do that. The easiest way to do it, and this is the newest template, and the newest way to do it in 2.5 is to go separate and cut it off down here at the bottom. Now you highlight the template and then click on separate. It turns green. I'm going to hold shift and again withdraw on the box because I want my anchor points directly across from each other, right? Just like that. Now it says up here at the top, ready to separate. Click on it again and it separates it for me. Now you could be one of those guys and do the, a reverse visor. That would be fun. But if you don't want this part, just select it and delete it. And now you've got, let's measure exactly how deep this one goes. So if you want to tell Johnny customer exactly how wide this visor is, let's go measure that and say, all right, Johnny customer, it is going to come down 8.8 inches now from the top of the windshield, so the frit or the ceramic blackout. So 8.8 inches, let's just call it 9 whatever. You can take your ruler and measure that out. Show them on as you're discussing it with them before you go cutting it and putting it on. And they says, well, now hold on. What I want is actually a 10 inch. It's got to be 10 inches. And you know this as well as I do, that we've all had those customers that are convinced that they want exactly 10 inches. And you go, well, I just cut this off and it's only 8.9. But wait, there's more. We go back to the resize tool. And then I'm going to select that. Now notice, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Notice I've selected around the corners, right? Zoom that out so you can see. All right, so here is those around the corners, and we knew that was 8.9 inches, right? So I've already got it set to 1 inch. So what I'm going to do is just add an inch to the bottom of that. and that'll get it at 9.9. There you go. Now you've got your 9.9, or if you wanted to do 11.9, it just keeps going and keeps going. Now it's jumping off the artboard there, but that's how that works. That is the template editing tools. Okay. Any questions? Don't see any questions just yet. Let's do one more quick one over on the PPF side. Again, this is one of those things that we do get some feedback on. Let's go back to our ADX. Template editing on an ADX. So if, let's use this bumper for example. Some guys like a little more stretch in their bumper. I'm going to go ahead and delete these things that I'm not ready to do yet, at least. So for this one, I want to add a little more stretch to this one. Maybe you've put one on before. Maybe you're working with a different film. Maybe you're working with a 3M film or a film that's a lot more rigid, and you don't want to have to deal with compressing a finger in a certain area. So you want to click on Resize, and let's do this. Let's just take some film straight out of the middle. And again, I'm going to just use my shift key and draw a box to put my anchor points down. You can absolutely do the manual clicky per clicky thing if you want. But if you wanted to take half an inch out of that, it would do it like that. Now, that appears to be a little bit of a bug, but see if I did that wrong. Again, these tools are in process of working and enhancing those, especially on PPF. Let's do it on this piece. If I did a ½ inch out of this bottom skid plate, I believe that's what that is, and it's going to take that out. The better way to do that on that particular piece would be to select this side. Let's reverse that and not capture anything in here. I think that's where it's losing its mind. That's where it's losing its mind. So I just took a ½ inch out of that piece. You would want to do that same thing over here on that particular one. And now you've got a whole extra inch of stretch on that because you took a ½ inch out of that side and a ½ inch out of that side. So that is kind of the basics on PPF editing. One thing that everybody gets confused on is where to place your anchor points. So if I covered anything today and everything makes more sense to you guys, make sure you're going around the corner. I pushed R to reverse that, and I'm going to add some wrap to that side, and it just goes like that. It just keeps going until it loses its mind. You can subtract. It only subtracted up to where I put my anchor point at, but that is editing. Hopefully we've covered. Okay, no questions. We'll go ahead and end there. Again, next month we will continue doing these as we release features, as we come up with new things, and let you know. I do want to remind everybody that we are here. We are here to answer these questions and kind of explain this stuff for you. Our number, 1-800-452-7311. Option number 2 for templates. Option number 3 for any subscription renewal stuff that you might have. Tech support. Miguel and Salvador do a great job at weaving you through those. If you have a pattern design question, we're here to help you through how to install this stuff or answer any questions that you might have. If you missed it last month, we updated you on there is no price increase this year. So one thing we're super excited about, we do hear a lot of feedback from a lot of you on the prices. We chose not to do a price increase this year, so prices are going to remain level for as far as we know. So do absolutely give us a call if you have anything. And then we do have that's a good point. We do have a survey that we've sent out in email. So pay attention to your junk email, pay attention to your email, fill out that survey, let us know what you want us to show you. I'm glad to talk through it. And either if you want to do that on one-on-one, you can give us a call, or we can absolutely do a special session on how do I do this, or whatever problems that you guys are having. I think that is pretty much all I've got. So we will end there. I appreciate you guys sticking around for all 24 minutes of this one. We will see you on the next one. Have a good one.